If countries get rid of the dollar, each country's currency will once again be pledged to its gold reserves. Experts predict that most countries will have eliminated the dollar from mutual trade within 2 years. Well, the Chinese want to replace dollar, the world's most important currency. Beijing is working hard to make it happen. Welcome to Money Bags, the only channel where the future billionaires get inspired. Rees again confirmed that Chinese strongman Jinping wants his country to replace US, the world's superpower. Currently plays with the yuan, the dollarization he calls it. Meanwhile, the most trade is dominated in dollar, and the most reserves in central banks around the world are dollars. The greenback is also the primary reserve asset for many international agencies. Eyebrows have arisen with special arrangements Chinese made using the yuan in a recent deal. China National Offshore Oil Corporation is paying yuan to France giant Total Energies for liquefied natural gas. China and Saudi Arabia are closing in on an agreement whereby China would pay for oil in yuan rather than dollar. China is pressing other parties when they can to use yuan. China is the biggest direct foreign investor in Africa and is now a major investor in other parts of the world. It is reviling the IMF and the World Bank to developing countries. Now, many politicians, pundits, and policymakers' question is whether the dollar status as the world's reserve currency can be maintained. US economy has floundered for most of this century with a growth rate far below America's history average. US public sector's debts are ballooning and wasteful spending remains unchecked. US central bank is dangerously cluelessly about inflation. Is the dollar doomed? Will the yuan become the preferred international currency? Some of the Americans' politicians, analysts say no, but the fact proves us that there is a temptation. The Chinese strongman Jinping tended to confirm that he's making a will to destroy the power of the US and finally over the world. The countries like Saudi Arabia are harboring deep diplomatic grievances and concerns about US blundering foreign policy, and it will do one of the nominated deal to express dissatisfaction with Washington. Brazil's new socialist president is doing it to vent his animosity toward the US. France's patriot president is pushing his preposterous pretension to be a big deal global maker and shaker at the expenses of the US. But the USA financial markets are deeper, more sophisticated, and more liquid than any others. Beijing imposes strict capital controls anthem to global traders. Yuan itself remains less convertible to the dollar or euro. Global payments in yuan are under 3%. Only 2.5% central bank reserves of the countries are held in yuan. Despite all the attempts, the US dollar is far from reliable than so-called currency of the track lined authoritarian regime.